Hi, I'm Scoot, and welcome to the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. If you have not become a subscriber, I hope you will. Just subscribe. It's free, and then we give you an alert every time we do something like this. Um, Tonight is another episode of The Truth Behind the Microphone, and what I do with this series is I attempt to reveal some of the truth behind the microphone, whether it's radio, TV, social media, whatever. It occurred to me today that there's a phenomenon going on with the most hardcore Trump supporters. The hate and the ugliness are ramping up. And I suspect that that might be because there are a lot of numbers that don't look good for President Trump. There are a lot of things going on that have been proven to be wrong in terms of handling coronavirus. Europe shut us out. America shut out of Europe. Other countries can go to Europe now, but not Americans. We Americans are banned from Europe because our country is such a hot spot. Because we as a country have done such a poor job of handling the coronavirus pandemic. Now, that's not an opinion, that's really pretty much a fact. There are states like Florida, Arizona, Texas, California, and even where I am, in my apartment in New Orleans, here in Louisiana, there are cases where, well, there are more cases. And so stuff is taken off. In some cases, it's actually skyrocketing. It seems to me that it's all about the mask. It's all about social distancing. But it's almost as if people tune in my radio show on WWL. Not everybody. But a lot of people tune in my radio show for the purpose of hating me, for the purpose of trying to catch me say anything that they can criticize. It's like they've got their phone. It's like they've got their phone and they've got everything ready to go. They've got everything, they've got all the numbers pushed out perfectly. They've got all the numbers right, and they're just listening, and they're waiting to just hit the send button, whether it's a call or a text. It's not a guarantee. Some people think it is a guarantee, but it's not. It's really a shame that the Democrats don't have an even more viable candidate. You know, this is like the second time in a row that they haven't had a really strong, dominant, good candidate. But that's for the Democrats to figure out. So, you know, Trump may win re-election. He might. But a lot of numbers don't look good. But, you know, at this point, look, other presidents have been behind and they have caught up. And there's enough time to catch up. But let's go to the truth behind the microphone. There's no doubt that there are people who love my show. There's no doubt that there are a lot of people who agree with me. But what I find interesting is that there are people who seem to tune in every day for the purpose of trying to set the record straight with me, trying to set me straight. And I can tell that a lot of them are getting the talking points from Fox News and conservative media. Because there's a theme with many of the comments. And it changes. It changes. Right now, there's a theme of wearing a mask is chipping away at my rights. So what's next? That's the question. So this comes from several different callers and text messages from, quite a few. This is a conservative talking point. If you are forced to wear a mask, you're losing your rights. And man, what a great thing to do to instill fear in people. And like the other day, I had a guy call the show and he was talking to me. He was really angry with me. They're chipping away at our rights. They're robbing us of our rights. What's next? And so I asked him, I said, well, what's next? He didn't know. He couldn't even speculate on what's next. And then I said, well, what rights have you lost? Because he was talking about all the rights that we've lost. He couldn't name one thing, could not name one right that he's lost. Because, there are adjustments that are made to our constitutional rights. That's been going on from the beginning. But we're not losing rights. Mistakes have been made, but we're not losing rights. So it seems like my radio show attracts a lot of combative conversations and conflict because it's as if there are a number of people who are tuning in just to try to catch me saying something that's wrong. And look, I'm human. I make mistakes. And my show's not scripted. It's live. It's right there. It's happening live right before you. And if I make a mistake, I correct it. So that's just, being human. But I just find it really interesting that there's this growing hate. And maybe it's cathartic for people to dislike me. Again, I don't focus on the positive text. I get a lot of text messages in, and they're really, really, really positive. But I don't focus on those because the negative ones are more fun to deal with. And maybe what I should do, I could give the impression that everybody agrees with me by screening calls. We screen calls to make sure somebody's sober. And, believe it or not, some people aren't. We screen calls based on what would you like to talk to Scoot about? Where are you calling from? What's your name? That's it. We don't screen opinions. But maybe I should start doing that. Maybe I should start screening opinions to where everybody that gets on my show agrees with me. Maybe I should start reading text that every text that I read agrees with me. Here's a comment from Shatney. Trump knows the writing on the wall. Another comment, they are trying to aggravate you and get you going. Well, they kind of do. Elizabeth says, I truly enjoy listening to you. You put a break on the fools. Okay, I think it's a compliment. But it's really fascinating. Debbie says, no, don't join the sheep. Yeah, I mean, think about it. The truth behind the microphone. I could truthfully screen all the calls to where everybody who calls in agrees with me. I could only read the text messages that praise my show and agree with my opinion. Or I could keep it the way it is and let people who disagree with me call in. And focus more on the texts that disagree with me than the texts that agree with me. But by allowing all of these different voices on the air, I am inviting this ugly, hateful conflict. And I'm inviting people with the memorizing of conservative talking points, just coming on the air and regurgitating those talking points. I mean, man, think for yourself. And my God, if you're going to say that, if you're going to say that our government's taking away our rights, then know what rights our government's taking away. And when there is an emergency declaration, certain things that are not legal every day are legal, are acceptable. So don't freak out. These are emergency declarations that are taking place. And the government has a right to try to protect the masses. Toby says, oh, it would be boring. Maybe I'm crazy, but I like when you get pissed off and you put people in their place. Well, see, I enjoy that too. I mean, I don't enjoy putting people in their place, but I enjoy, standing up for what I believe in. And here's another bit of the truth behind the microphone. For those who think, well, why are you always right? Well, first of all, I'm not always right. But I think people get the impression that I always have an answer for everything. Well, I kind of do, because that's my job. If you think I go on the air with an opinion and I don't think about what I'm going to hear back, then you're crazy. I can't speak for other talk show hosts, but I think about and analyze what I'm going to, if my opinion is this, I analyze what I'm going to get from people, what they're going to say, how they're going to challenge me. It's kind of like a defense attorney in court. I mean, you want to understand the other side because that's the best way for you to figure out how to rebut the arguments of the other side. So that's what I do. I prepare. If the topic is legalizing marijuana, if I say I am for legalizing pot, I know that people are going to call up and say, well, why don't we just legalize all drugs? Or they're going to call up and say, or send me a text and say, well, we shouldn't legalize something that's bad for you. Or how are we going to detect when people are stoned and driving? Like blood tests for, drinking and driving. How are we going to do that with marijuana? Well, I think it's simple, man. I just think you offer them, like you see how many donuts they eat out of a box a dozen if they get pulled over, or, tempt them with chips and dip and see how, well, you just check them for the munchies, I guess. I'm kidding. But, I don't know. I just, it's very interesting because talk radio, like any medium, any aspect of the media, is a reflection of the audience. Debbie says, it's called a different opinion. People should seek that and look at all sides. And here's another comment. What's good about me is that I argue my point and don't just hang up on people like other talk show hosts. Well, I don't hang up on people. I mean, look, sometimes a conversation goes on and the person has continued to repeat the same things over and over again. I'm ready to move on. And if their argument isn't broader and they're just saying this, okay, it's time to move on. And then, another aspect of the truth behind the microphone is, guess what? I have commercial breaks and I have news to get to. I have to do that throughout the hour. And when I say I have to get to a break, or when I try to get through calls, it's because I've got a break coming up or the news is coming up. There are a few times that I have literally hung up on people, but trust me, they deserved it. But I let so many people on who disagree with me that this notion that I hang up on people I disagree with, it's stupidity. But again, that's like this conventional talking point. And going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago, memorizing conservative talking points. Look, there are people who memorize liberal talking points too. Don't get me wrong. But so many people attack me for not being a right-wing conservative on the air. Like what? You think conservative ideology owns the airwaves? You think conservative ideology owns talk radio? Well, it doesn't. And I love the people that call up and say, you shouldn't be on the air. You should be neutral. You shouldn't have an opinion. I bet those people listen to Rush and Hannity. They've got opinions. What's the difference? The only difference is my opinion is different. So then it comes down to this. What these people are saying is, if I disagree with you, you should not have a right to say what's on your mind. You cannot call yourself a patriotic American if that's what you believe. You might actually believe that and not even realize that that's what you believe. But by just trying to say, well, you shouldn't be on the air, or you shouldn't say that, or quite often it's about beating up the messenger because they can't defend the message. If President Trump holds up the Bible backwards, and if I say something about that, they cannot defend the fact that President Trump looked awkward and held up the Bible backwards in front of that church. They can't defend that fact. So what do? They attack the messenger. They attack me for bringing it up. Here's a comment. It says, your skills, Scoot, proud of you. Thank you very much. Another comment, you're pretty much right down the middle. Well, I mean, I have strong opinions. And again, I've talked about being a radical moderate. I've talked about all of this. Hey, DJ Wick, thanks for checking in. Hey, an old joke. I forgot what I was going to say. Come on, somebody tell me what I was saying. Real quick. What was I saying? Just lost my train of thought here. Yeah, DJ Wick used to be a producer of mine. I was talking about, I don't know, listeners. Yeah. Hey, DJ Wick. No, what was I just talking about? I'm human, and none of this is scripted. It's all ad lib stuff. So I just, just talk. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But talk radio is pretty fascinating. Oh, Trump holding the Bible. Thank you, Red Guitar Nola. So they cannot defend Trump holding up the Bible backwards because he did. So then they go, well, you shouldn't even be talking about this. Or what about the time that President Obama got off Air Force One holding the Quran? Like they believe that. Like they don't understand that was photoshopped. People believe what they want to believe. And they don't care about the truth. They believe what confirms their bias. It's called confirmation bias, and it has never been more true than it is today. And there are other examples of, look, I guarantee you, if Joe Biden wins the election, Joe Biden is going to say some really stupid stuff as president. Joe Biden is going to do some stupid things as president. And it's going to be really easy to make fun of Joe Biden. And I'm going to treat Joe Biden just like I treat President Trump. So for all those who think I'm just picking on President Trump, just hang on. Then what you should do is vote for Joe Biden, and let me prove it to you. And the late night talk show hosts, they're gonna be all over Biden. Is it worse with Trump? Yeah, it's worse with Trump. You know why? Because Trump is an antagonist. President Trump antagonizes the media. He attacks the media to the point where the media has to respond. He asks for it. He asks for it every day. Now, Joe Biden is not going to ask for it every day, but he's going to get it. So you'll see a degree of fairness. I've done entire radio shows on the late night jokes about President Obama. And I know when you say, well, it was different. Well, in some ways it was different, but they made fun of Obama. The late night talk shows made fun of President. I did a whole show on this. And really, used some of the jokes and said some of the things that they said about really ugly stuff because he's the president. So, man, stop being a snowflake. Stop being so offended that somebody's talking about the president because they talk about every president. Every president. If you don't want that to happen to you, don't be president. If you don't want that to happen to your guy or your woman, then don't vote for them. It's pretty simple. Here's a comment from Shatney. Joe Biden will be looking out for the American with Trump, which Trump has not done for 4 years. I get that. Look, it's make Trump great again. That's really the slogan. It's all about Trump. And I feel badly for those who think that he cares so much for them when that's not in his DNA. It's about him. So it might be that Joe Biden shows more of a sign of having empathy than President Trump. But believe me, Joe Biden will say things and do things that I will talk about on my show. All right, I'll leave it at this. But this has been another episode of the Truth Behind the Microphone. And I try to reveal some of the things behind the scenes. And again, what I could do, think about this. I could, helicopter out there, a ghetto bird. I could screen the calls to where we only let people on who agree with me. I could just read all the texts that agree with me and make it seem like everybody who listens to the show agrees with me. Because you do hear that on some other shows. But that's what I love about WWL. And we're all free to express our opinions and be honest with our opinions. So anyway, I hope I've enlightened you a little bit with the truth behind the microphone. So next YouTube coming up Saturday evening, another episode of the truth behind the microphone. I'll do another Scoot story. Haven't decided which one I'll tell yet, but I've talked about, let's see, strippers and cocaine and a few other things. I'll tell another Scoot story. I just thought of one that I might tell. It was really a difficult time in my career, and it deals with a stalker. And believe me, stalkers can be dangerous. So I'll do that story. That'll be the truth behind the microphone Scoot story. We'll talk about the stalker, and I'll do that coming up. Don't forget, tomorrow night, just after 9 o'clock, 80s night from my apartment here in downtown New Orleans. And I will do a couple of 80s songs. It will be on the Scoot on the Air Instagram account. And it will also be on IG, Instagram, TV. So have a great night. Please subscribe and please share this channel with your friends. We're just building this. It's Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. I got some stuff that's being ordered, so we're going to have a little bit of a set one day and do a little more with this. And join me on my radio show, WWL AM FM in New Orleans, and download the app radio.com and stream the show by typing in WWL. I'm Scoot. I love you guys. Have a good evening.